right, hello everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 30 of the Leafs Line Podcast. I am your host for today, Mayor Russo, joined by Evan Davis, Adama Rimoli, and Jared Rotenberg. You can check the Leafs Line Podcast out, obviously, on our YouTube channel, and of course, on dynastysportsnetwork.ca. You can see it on your page. Again, I don't know how many times I got to say this, but you can't click it. I don't know if you've tried. It pauses the video, just disclaimer here. Don't click it, search it, Google it, whatever you want to do. We're there. We got a bunch of sports content coming your way. So dynastysportsnetwork.ca, where you can find a lot of things hockey-wise, baseball-wise, football. We got all of the sports. So go there to check it out. And I don't know, we didn't get to see Adama last week. We scheduled this show so we could see him specifically. Yesterday was his birthday. First of all, happy belated birthday to Mr. Rimoli. And I got to turn this question over to you, man. Best birthday memory you got, whether it came yesterday or it came 18, 19 years prior. What is the best one? What's the go-to? Either is it a present that you got? Is it an experience? Lay it on me, man. I got to hear what the best birthday bash happened with Adama Rimoli. Let's hear it.
So we were briefing this before the show, and first thing that came to mind was like maybe about an hour ago, I went out to vote because today's election day in Ontario, and the lady, like, I didn't get a fucking election card because Lord knows what Ontario's doing, but so I had to register, and the lady's like, "Oh, today's your birthday." I'm like, "No, it was yesterday." She's like, "No, it's June 1st." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's yesterday." And she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And so yeah, she didn't know the day. That was interesting, but that's not the story. I'm gonna quickly go.
I was gonna say that would have been
That's a great story.
No, story. There's probably better ones because I have like okay, so I'll just talk about it. 14th birthday, maybe 14th, 13th, somewhere like early high school. The trend with all my friends was getting a bus and going to a sports game downtown. Okay. And I don't know why it was a thing, but we all did it. So naturally, so did I. And for my birthday, we went to see TFC. This was actually also during the Raptors championship run. So I guess I was grade 11. And it was actually a Raptors game that night. It might have been game 5 or something, game 2. I don't know. It was one of the finals games. Anyways, we got to the field at the 44th minute because the bus didn't show up until kickoff. Keep in mind, I live. We'd pay full price. Yeah. Full price. It was shitty, but I was pissed. I was pissed Brutal. All day. We got to watch half of a soccer game. Yeah, half of a soccer game. You go back. We didn't get to stay because they were showing the game on at BMO Field, the Raptors game. But yeah, I can't really think of any other stories. Other that one was a pretty wild one.
Remember for sure.
We ended up going home and watching the Raptors game, so that was fun. Obviously, I had a ton of fun with my buddies, but yeah, I say that because I'm going to the TFC game tomorrow or 2 days. So
Saturday.
It just rung a bell. It rung a bell. Yeah.
I love it. And I mean, I actually, not for my birthday, but I've actually had to miss half a baseball game. Now, I don't know, Jared, if you've missed any time of a sports event that you were either late to or just didn't show to, or Evan, maybe you're a part of that group as well. But I went to a baseball game down in Florida. It was Mets. I was in Jupiter. So Mets and Giants, something like that. And God, we got there 5th, 6th inning. We only saw Max Scherzer, not Max Scherzer, it was DeGrom at the time, pitching 2-3 innings in spring training. It was a mess, and it was not worth my time at all. I got that that ice cream out of the hat or the bucket, whatever, their helmet. That's pretty cool. Definitely try that if you're ever in the States looking for a ball game. But man, Jared, do you got any story about like games that you've missed, and what is the worst game to go halfway to, man? Like,
Jared, I hope you're telling the story that I think you're going to tell.
I don't know the story that I'm supposed to be telling that you're talking about, but I do have a story that I'm big on. We don't leave the entire game. I always am big on my dad getting him get there early. And my dad's always the type that, okay, there's 5 minutes left. We know how this is going to end. He's heading out. And I'm always on my dad.
You're there.
No, it's a hockey game. We were watching till the end. And the biggest story I can remember is the season of the pandemic, but like end of the 2019, like before it switched over to 2020. I went to a San Jose Sharks Leafs game, and there was about 10 seconds left in the period. And I'm like, Dad, we are staying till the end. We're not getting up and leaving. Sure enough, with 5 seconds left in the period, Jake Muzzin scores a goal. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, Dad. You wanted to go get some ice cream during that little few seconds. Like, you really would have rushed out into the concourse. It would have been very worth your time. And I'm like, we would have missed a goal. So he's always like, okay, Jared, you were right. We are not leaving the game. I'm always on the side of you do not get out of your seat. You get all your money's worth. You stay there till the end. And I hate getting there late. I am always big on we're leaving early. We're not missing.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if a Leafs win equates to getting all your money's worth, because those tickets are ridiculously priced. Evan, you got cheaper tickets down in the States, man. Give me a story.
Yeah, so this was in 2012. This is when the Kings were in Game 6 against New Jersey in the Cup final, and I had a baseball game that like at the same time or similar time as to when the Kings were playing. So I played in the game, whatever, we won, and then we were driving, my mom and I are then racing down to Staples Center, and my dad's like texting us updates. So I missed like half the game. I only showed up for like the third period, missed that 5-minute major, whatever. But we get to the arena, like we're parking, and I realized that I didn't bring shoes with me. So I ran from wherever the parking structure was to the arena in my cleats.
Oh.
And I wore baseball cleats during that game. And my mom's in high heels, and we're like just racing, trying to at least like salvage however much time is left. And of course, since we got there so late, someone took our seats or whatever. So like they just sat us like in like the concourse, like there's a concourse section, and we just like they gave us chairs or whatever. But that was like the funniest story, is like just getting there and realizing I didn't have any shoes, and I'm running half a mile in cleats, and my mom's in high heels.
Yeah, man. Seeing a little Evan Davis running around Staples Center or now crypto, whatever thing it is, arena.
Crypt.
Yeah, running around. I thought the story was gonna go barefoot, and you were running around all of that arena barefoot.
It was honestly either that or wear the baseball cleats.
I thank for yourself and everyone around you. You went cleats. That is a safe call. We don't need to see Evan Davis.
I know. I mean, like they need to pay for that, first of all.
All right. But aside from all the stories of games get too late, whatever that may be, let's get into actual games that we're going to be looking forward to in next season, the playoffs that are still going on. We got a lot of hockey to talk to today, and we're going to talk Leafs. And if you want to see about a bunch of things about Leafs offseason stuff, possible trades, targets, whatever, go look at Dynasty Sports Network or one of our recent articles. Mr. Rimoli down there wrote it himself. A lot of offseason moves that we could possibly see from the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys who are going to go, guys who can stay. Not definite, but hypotheticals that we may very well be seeing from Kyle Dubas and the Maple Leafs organization. Well, let's talk about some of those offseason moves that we may see. Probably the biggest question mark of them all heading into both the offseason and next season is the defense. Now, I mean, you go look another offseason, and there's another pile of problems sitting on Kyle Dubas's doorstep, who probably does have a lavish and pretty freaky style home. I mean, I don't know where this guy lives, but he's probably in a pretty decent spot.
And he definitely lives in a flat roof.
I think so.
You know what I mean? I think so. That just gives me Dubas's vibe, like low couches. You know,
I know based on All or Nothing, the documentary, his office was so boring looking. So he definitely doesn't have some fancy looking penthouse.
Kyle, man, put in the money where it matters, I guess. I don't know, but he's gonna probably have to put some money where it matters in this off season. This time around, though, Dubas made we all refer to it as a terrific move. We didn't say it on the podcast, however, but in our group chat, again, check it off the bingo card, we were praising Kyle Dubas's moves, keeping Mark Giordano for $800,000 over the next 2 years. So that's one guy gone. That was his first move of the offseason. I'm assuming it's going to be the first of many. And it kind of clouded the foggy judgment that already Leafs Nation has in their mind, who have the exact same question sitting in the back of their mind. Who is going to be the odd man out on the back end? There's so many pieces surrounding the Maple Leafs defensive corps. It's you got guys like Jake Muzzin, Justin Hall, Ila Bushkin, who's going to be a UFA, and he can very easily test the open market after a terrific shutdown season with the team this year. You got guys like Timothy Liljegren, Rasmus Sandin, who are going to be RFAs. So the odds of them getting offer sheeted, I think, in my opinion, is very slim to none. But they're going to be asking for money, and money is not something the Maple Leafs have as of right now. Dom, I'm going to turn this question over to you. You not only wrote an article about it, but I kind of want you to expand upon it right here and now. What are you seeing for the Maple Leafs defensive corps for opening night? Can you maybe, in your crystal ball here, rub it a little bit, do whatever you got to do to maybe see some bright future for this Maple Leafs team? Is it going to be bright, and who are we going to be seeing donning some blue and white uniforms in opening night? Because there's a lot of question marks with this back end, some more question marks than we've regularly seen in most off seasons with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, well, I'll give you my first crystal ball prediction, and it's gonna piss off a lot of people. I think Justin Hall is the sixth defenseman. I don't think he's going anywhere. I know it's a take, but if Kyle Dubas was going to move Justin Hall, it already would have been done. Like you look at the back half of last season, he was fine. You look at the playoffs, he was fine.
Yeah.
I don't think he was bad. Like you know what?
God, that
We
took you a lot
microanalyze.
apart.
But
we
fine is good for
microanalyze-
Justin Hall. Fine
Exactly.
is good. And fine is good for any defenseman. Let's get that straight here.
If Justin Hall is playing, 10 minutes and not 10, even like 13 minutes a night on the third pairing, fine. I'm cool with Justin Hall being our worst defenseman because he's not actually that bad. Like he had an awful start to the season. We know it. He still was a positive player of the entire season. So that goes to show you how good he was in the second half. It just sneakily was good. The issue that I have if they keep Justin Hall is who is his partner going to be? Because that left side is, man, I think we all know what's going to happen. I'd imagine it's Jake Muzzin probably out the door. I know it's going to be hard to move him because of his no move clause, that cap hit, his age, but it's been done. I'm sure you can get positive value for Jake Muzzin. It's probably not a king's ransom. So he probably ends up starting. I think their pairings look like, I know the original question was that probably Riley Brody. Holy cow, who do they have? Hold on, I have their cap from me.
Giordano, Liljegren.
Nope.
Sandin.
Nope. Riley. So I had Riley, Brody, Sandine, question mark, Giordano, Hall.
Okay.
And no Liljegren in the starting lineup?
Oh, did I not have Liljegren?
No, I was
Oh, no.
Fuck. Oh boy, yeah. Okay, then you know what? They might go Sandine Liljegren.
That would be interesting because that shows that Dubas is all the or not even Dubas, but Keith as well as all the trust in his young guys that he trusts both of them. Because the way that they've usually been played is kind of you have your, I guess I'm going to call them a liability, even though I think they're good, but like you have your young guy that you don't have all the trust in. They usually kind of put them with an older guy that they have more trust in. So that would be a big seal of confidence of putting the two young guys together. That would be an interesting move.
It's going to be a revolving door, and I say that because you can't have Sandine Hall. And then I don't know who you play with Riley at that point. Like you can go Riley Lily, but like having Liljegren as the stay-at-home guy is not ideal. So like he has a really good problem because these are all fantastic players. I think they probably end up signing a revolving door kind of guy that can play both sides. I like Labushkin, big question mark. Depends how much he can command in free agency. I have a feeling it's going to be more than the Leafs want. Like some team will say.
And mind you, the Leafs have also money to put aside to other pieces on their team. It's
yeah,
not just the
they need to
right?
go
There's
cheap.
a guy
here.
named Jack Campbell.
That's why Sandine and Liljegren, I think, are going to play. I think Justin Hall is going to play because he
has to. There's no it's
$2 million for him is it's fine for your number 6 defenseman. And then they probably get that like I said, the revolving door 7th defenseman. So who knows? Liljegren's out, Sandine's out, Hall's out. So I just don't see a situation how Jake Muzzin stays because you need to sign so many guys. So many guys to come back.
Like, I don't think this is a good problem the Leafs have. I think it's a bad problem the Leafs have.
Too many defensemen, bad problem?
Too many defensemen. There's too many. There's only 6 that you can have on a team. And
you 7. You need a 7th defenseman.
Oh, okay. True.
And they have
but
like
the Leafs
9.
have like 9 or 10 or whatever it is. And like these guys aren't going to develop. Like Liljegren and Sandine can't develop. And then if you try to trade them, what are you going to get for them? And that's why I know like it sounds crazy when I had said it, but that's why I think some of these guys might get offer sheeted because they know that the Leafs know that they're not going to get any more value for them. And other teams know that they could get a young defenseman for a 3rd or 4th round pick, which
they were both 1st round picks. I don't think that's where
they're not getting the 3rd or 4th.
No, because when you offer sheet someone, the team
Leafs match. The Leafs will match.
It depends on how. I mean, we've just seen like whatever, like a team that's hungry for a young defenseman might pull a Carolina and do the same thing that they did with Kotkaniemi. Like who knows? I don't think I think the Leafs are just in a bad spot because you can't have different defensemen playing every night and playing with different guys. Like, you need to have some sort of consistency in order to build chemistry. And I don't get what the Leafs are doing. Like, if anything, if you can't move Jake Muzzin, I would move Sandin or Liljegren. Because what's the point of keeping them in Toronto if they're just playing in practice and they're not playing in games? One, it's not fair to them. And two, what's the point of putting them in the press box every night?
Well, they're gonna play. And if someone gives Rasmus Sandin 6.1 million,
no, well, because that's for like two.
Yeah.
That's for 2 firsts. But like, even if he gets anywhere from $1 million to 2, if he's
the Leafs match.
The Leafs, 100%.
The Leafs match anything, I think, up to 4.
Yes. Very. Yeah.
Other
I
than
don't
that,
know. Like,
then
I don't
say Levy.
think
wouldn't
they're in a
even mind
good.
it either.
I don't think it's good to have all these defensemen and then you don't even know what to do with them. Like, I get the whole abundance of riches, but I think there's a limit. And I think, like, I'm totally fine with a 7th and 8th defenseman, but once you start getting into 9 and 10 of who could potentially play in the NHL, then what's the point of
Well,
keeping
that's why
them?
Muzzin. If Muzzin's gone, you have Riley Brody, Sandin Liljegren, Geo Hall at 6, and then what? Boosh 7. I don't think that's bad.
Yeah,
Even if
like,
you bring in
those are
another
NHL
guy.
guys.
Yeah, they're all like you need a 7th defenseman. You can't roll 6.
No, I'm not
because if a guy
disputing that. But I'm
gets
saying,
injured, I don't want Matt Hollowell playing in the NHL. Sorry, or Joey Duzak.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the one thing Evan's sort of steering to is maybe the fact that Liljegren, and I don't think it is ever going to happen, but Liljegren and Sandin not getting the proper playing time that maybe they deserve. And I think they will end up getting what they deserve at the end of the day, both money wise, both playing time wise, because I think this is going to be a big year for them personally. And I want to ask you guys, I'll ask you, Jared, do you see a big step coming forward? If I don't know if this is really a big if, but Sandin and Liljegren, they come back. How big of a step are we seeing forward from these guys? Are they going to be taking the next big thing for this Maple Leafs defensive group? Are they going to be leading the defensive group? What are we going to be seeing from these two guys? Because they had a terrific season where they kind of stapled themselves into the lineup last year and even a little bit the year before. But I think this is the year where it's like, okay, you've gotten your time in the NHL. Your toe is more than dipped. You're halfway in. Like, what are we going to be seeing from these guys, and where do the expectations lie if they do end up playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs on opening night?
Listen, I think every year that they've been part of the Leafs organization, I've seen improvements from these guys. In the past, I guess this is the first year that both of them were regular NHLers, and I think that'll continue. I still think both of them will be bottom 4 defensemen. I don't think either will push Brody or Riley out of the top pair. So they're not exactly going to be the single guy leading the pair, but I think they're going to be solid, impactful defensemen that will absolutely both of them be regulars in the lineup. And I think they'll be good. I saw there was a lot to like with both of those defensemen this season with how they were playing. Both were strong in very different areas. Obviously, there was a bit of a feeling out process because for both of them, it was probably their first year being absolute regulars. So there was definitely a learning curve. But right now, I trust both of them to be in our.
Oh, yeah. At least he caught it though. Like, that's his mic cut out.
Oh, good save.
I haven't heard that noise in a while.
Oh,
Either
we
way.
can hear you.
You are not coming out of your mic.
I don't think it's coming out of your mic.
I don't know what's happening. Regardless, what I was saying is I think both will be regulars. I think both will be in the bottom 4. Neither are going to push out the top guys, but I think they're going to be very good. They're going to be regulars, and I've seen improvements. I don't see a reason to doubt that there will be further improvement. And overall, I like what I'm seeing from both of them. I think they're going to be good this year.
Yeah, and improvements is probably the best thing you could say from Maple Leafs defense. We've been seeing it from a year prior to this year. It was a massive improvement. Adama, do you see it being another improvement in 2022, 2023? Is it going to be a step back because a bunch of guys are taking a step out the door? Like, what are we seeing from the defensive group heading into next year? You gave me names, which I love. The crystal ball, I'm hoping, is accurate. Jared gave me something that they're going to maybe be seeing. What are we going to be seeing from these two players? I think they're going to be key parts in the Maple Leafs wheel of defense. But do you see them being as strong as they were this year? Because playoffs, I think they were pretty strong. Regular season, I think they were pretty strong. You could argue not strong enough, but regardless, they were more than adequate, and they really helped this team get through a lot of shutdown games. Do you see it going to be coming to fruition next year? What are we going to be seeing from these guys from top to bottom?
You know, it's weird because, like, I think about it And like just looking at the name, just looking at last year's decor, I'm like, wow, this decor is stacked. And you take Jake Muzzin off of it, I don't know if it's as stacked. But it's weird to say because I think Sandin is as good as Muzzin. It's just kind of that name value thing with Muzzin. He has the strong presence. He's a leader in the room, which that's hard to trade away. By the way, trading Muzzin will be the hardest decision Dubas has made in honestly could be his tenure as a GM if he's trading away Jake Muzzin because that's a leader. That guy, if he didn't have a core four, he's wearing a letter, no doubt in my mind. Jake Muzzin's a leader of that team. It'd be really hard to trade him. So I really don't know if they're better at just kind of hoping these guys take steps. I don't think, like Jared said, I don't think you're looking at a future top pairing defenseman. I think you're looking at, maybe a top 4 guy, but you really hope Sandin, and we forget how good Sandin was too. Like before that injury, Sandin was arguably our like 3rd best defenseman on nights. So he's fantastic. Liljegren really came into his own. I just worry what they're going to do with him as well, because obviously he's going to play. Timothy Liljegren is in the starting lineup, barring a crazy trade. It's just who's he going to play with? Because you play him with Gio, that means Hall is likely out the door, but I don't think Dubas is going to trade Hall, so you can't play him with Gio. You're going to play him with Sandin, and then if you're playing him with Sandin, you're playing him bottom pair of minutes, because I don't think he'd go Sandin Liljegren in the top 4 over Gio Hall. It's just, man, the Leafs decor has never been this big of a question mark. It's been bad. It's been really bad, but we knew it was bad. It wasn't a question mark. So
it's musical chairs, man. Where are these guys
going
to fit?
Literally, it's roll the dice. Who knows?
Jared, I just want to say one thing about the Jake Muzzin and the fact that I'm with you. I believe he will be traded. And as hard of a decision as it's going to be, just because obviously the guys in that locker room, they have so much respect for Jake Muzzin, just such a veteran, such a guy. He's obviously won a Stanley Cup, great player in this league, and he had his time with the Leafs. But to be honest, I think a younger team that's kind of trying to get into the situation the Leafs are in now, or on the road to becoming a regular playoff team, I think a team like that is a team that will much more have use for a guy like Jake Muzzin than us. Like, he was a big part in the Leafs' journey from becoming a borderline playoff team to an absolute regular shoe-in to make the playoffs every year. But now the fact that he's gotten injured a lot of years, I mean, against Columbus and against Montreal, he got injured in the playoffs. And as well, he's just an above 30-year-old defenseman that he's a great veteran, a great leader. But at this point, we need guys that'll kind of take us over the edge. Yes, Jake Muzzin has all the veteran leadership and the experience, but at the end of the day, if he isn't giving us the level of production on the ice that other guys could give us for, I guess you could say, a cheaper cost, that I don't think he really has much of a use anymore on our team. And it'll be a very difficult decision from Dubas, but I think it is one that he'll have to make. And I believe a team will take him. Like, yes, it's a big contract, 5.6
I have a prediction where I think he's
the next 2 years, but I really think the Red Wings, honestly, that's my team. I think the Red Wings are a young up-and-coming team that they're trying to form that core that's going to take their young kids from being teams that look positive to teams that one day become playoff teams. And I think that's a team that really could be in on a guy like Muzzin. I think he doesn't really serve much of a use on a regular playoff team like the Toronto Maple Leafs anymore. So I really think it's going to be a younger up-and-coming team. Like, the Red Wings are the team that jumps out at me that fits that mold. But I just think I don't know if he fits much of a role on this team anymore, as much as I love Muzzin.
Yeah, I actually I'm taking your approach too with Jake Muzzin, but I've been thinking it the entire time. I think he's going back to Cali, but I think he's going a little bit. Oh, don't laugh at me, Davis. A little bit further south than LA. Where's Anaheim? Is it more north or south? I think it's south. I think he's going to Anaheim.
Team in a similar situation. Like, I think that's
I think he's the perfect D pair for Jamie Drysdale. Like, he's Jake Muzzin. We think of him as a shutdown stay-at-home defenseman because he's slow. He's still fucking skilled. He's really talented. He's talented offensively. We forget about that. Yeah, he will fuck you up, but like, he scores a lot. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like maybe it's just like one of those myths. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but like, I just get the vibe. Jake Muzzin scores a lot of goals, like
I
not
think
off
you're
the
getting
rush. You know what I mean?
I think you're getting
Blast from the
thrown off
point.
because he scores big goals that make it
That
seem like
too.
he scores a lot.
That too. That could be it too. That could be it too. I just feel like he scores a lot.
Yeah.
And he's talented offensively, flat out.
It's good. Yeah, it's gonna be a hard piece for the Leafs, not just to move, but to get rid of. Man, like the fan base is gonna. I'm gonna say they're gonna reject it. They're not gonna like it too much. They're gonna get over it. They're gonna understand it, but it's gonna be a big loss.
You have to do
You
it.
have to. That's the
You
reality
have
of
to.
business, man. That's go
You
on.
can't
Jared.
have a $5.6 million leadership guy. Like I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At this point, like when we're trying to, we're a regular playoff team at this point, but the goal is to finally find success beyond that. And to do that, we can't have $5.6 million tied into a guy that once upon a time, a decade ago, had his championship and had his experience. Like it just doesn't make sense for him to be a Leaf anymore. And that sucks to say, because I really do like Jake Muzzin. But we could, even if we're not replacing his experience, I think we could get better on the ice for a cheaper cost. And that's a tough decision that Dubas is going to need to make, but I think it's a very necessary one.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough decisions the rest of the way, man. Like when you set yourself up, and I'm not going to bring up all the Leaf stuff of the playoffs and all that, but it does put you in a tough spot. And Kyle Dubas knows that. He knows what he has to do. I'm sure he has his plan all set in stone on how to attack this. And sacrifices is what's going to happen with this team. Sacrifices were meant to happen in those elimination games. We didn't get those kind of sacrifices. Now it turns onto the players that are coming in and unfortunately going out. That's the way the cookie crumbles for the Maple Leafs, for a lot of teams in the NHL. It's going to be a massive offseason in the National Hockey League, and the Leafs may very well be leading the way in that category. But I want to switch gears here to the teams that are still in the playoffs, the teams that don't have to worry about the offseason yet, and the two teams that are left in the East. Now, a lot of people were saying the winner of the Leafs and Lightning series, I can't believe I'm tying this in, but the Leafs and Lightning series are probably going to go not only to the Eastern Conference Final, but maybe find their way into the Stanley Cup Final, fighting for that big piece of hardware. And the Rangers, well, they had other ideas last night. They knocked the doors off the Tampa Bay Lightning, not just on the score sheet, but on the ice as well, handing them their first loss since May 10th, which again came against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but in 6-2 fashion. They really got to them. And they're just 3 wins away, man. 3 wins away from not only making my bracket challenge the best bracket I've ever done in my entire life, but 3 wins away from a Stanley Cup final, which many did not expect them to see. And we knew the depth was going to be important heading into the postseason for all the teams. But Tampa Bay Lightning showed depth was so important in their last 2 years, their last 2 runs, and their last 2 championships. We were talking about it last week on this very same show. But we didn't think the Rangers were going to have the depth piece that was going to be an ultimate deciding factor for them in some games. This has been the not just lifeline for this team, but has really hummed their success over the last 2 rounds. You look at how they were down in Carolina. I believe they were down 3-1, if I'm not mistaken, clawed their way back in the series.
That was against the Penguins. They were down 3-1.
Penguins 3-1. Thank you. Penguins down 3-1. They clawed their way back. And a lot of the scoring, those heroes that we also talk about here in Toronto, they came from the bottom 6. And I don't know if we ever thought it was going to be coming from the bottom 6 in the New York Rangers uniform. But Adam, I'll ask this one. Actually, no, Evan hasn't even had a chance to talk. I'll ask you, Evan. What do you make of the depth for the New York Rangers, man? We saw it on full display. I don't even know how to say his name. Is it not Hurdle? Hedel. There we go. Hedel. 2 goals last night. He was the identity of the depth yesterday. And there's been so many guys you could point out to. But what do you make of the New York Rangers depth? Not only is it sustainable, but we didn't really expect to see the Rangers get production from like Lafreniere and all their other young guys on that third line. Yeah, the kids line. Exactly. We didn't expect to see all this kind of production. We thought it was going to be the big boys and maybe some supporting cast. No, man, it's a 50-50 split. You could argue more. What can you make of it? What can you comment on it? Put into perspective?
Well, I'm not really looking too much into yesterday's game as kind of like the Rangers are here, because with Tampa Bay, 9 days off is a long time to not play hockey, and especially playoff hockey when it's a completely different animal. And, New York, they had just played, so the legs are a little bit looser there. I think with Tampa, they're chilling on the beaches for God knows how long, but I'm not looking too much into it, but I did catch the highlights. The kid line, as I guess they call it in New York, was absolutely incredible. The way that they were able to keep the puck in the zone on the 4-2 goal that Philip Hedel ended up capitalizing on. I thought that was just showing that the young guys can play up to a veteran level. But I I'm going to just say, like, I feel like the Rangers have kind of been handed a silver platter this entire playoffs. I mean, they've played that was their second game playing a starting goalie. I mean, they've been pretty fortunate to get to this point. So I'm curious just to see what game 2 has in store. And we know Vasilevsky, after a playoff loss, is just a scary man. And I mean, I'm fearful of what happens in game 2, especially after the Rangers fans cheering Igor's better. So, I mean, they're just adding more ammo and more gasoline into a fire. So, but I will say though, I mean, the power play will be huge for them. I know they were capitalizing on those chances in game 1. I just think that also just had to do with just the tiredness of the Lightning just still getting their legs back into shape. But I mean, if they're able to capitalize on that power play at a consistent level, they could definitely make this series interesting. My Bolts in 4 pick is kind of out the water, but I'll take the Lightning to still win this series in 6 games. I'll give Lightning in 6. So that's my final word.
I mean, they're gonna have to go through the guy that's name was being chanted throughout MSG last night, Igor Shesterkin. He put up another gem yesterday, 37 of 39 shots stopped, and I mean, it's gonna be we thought heading in, at least it was gonna be a massive goaltending battle. And I mean, if the Western Conference final didn't suffice about goaltending and whatnot, we'll be getting to that soon. But if that didn't explain anything about goaltending, I think this series is going to put more on display than that one. I think you got 2 of the league's best going head to head, Shesterkin and Vasilevsky. And I mean, I'm going to ask this one to you, Adam. We were talking about it before the show. The GOAT status. Now, we talk about GOAT status for a lot of players, one of which may be playing, if depending on which way you lean. One of them is probably playing in the Western Conference final, but there might be one here in the Eastern Conference final. The GOAT of the goaltending position, probably one of the hardest positions to become the greatest of all time, because not only was there so many great ones before you, but in a league where goal scoring is one of its at its peak, and guys are so dynamic with the puck and could do just about everything, score about at any angle possible, you kind of feel like you're lost in the crease. But some guys find a way, they battle through, and they battle through extremely hard in big situations. 2 guys that come to mind are in the series, Shesterkin and Vasilevsky. That's in the storyline all throughout leading up to this series. I want to ask you, Adamo, the face of the franchise in goal. You got Shesterkin, who's going to be the face of the franchise for the Rangers, and already is the face of the franchise for the Lightning, Andrei Vasilevsky. Does a series win for either of these goalies, or is it maybe so how they win this series, how dominant they are in this series, how dominant they are in this postseason as its entirety? Do any of these guys get their name in GOAT status, man? Because like Shesterkin putting up that he's going to win the Vezina. I don't know if there's anyone coming close, but he had numbers that we haven't seen in almost 50, 60 years, much like a guy like Connor McDavid was putting up numbers in the postseason we haven't seen in 50, 60 years. But Vasilevsky, the pedigree, the guy who can't lose in the postseason, who has championships under his belt, like there's got to be a GOAT coming out of this one, man. I'm interested to see where it comes out. What do you make of it? Is there a GOAT tag going to be put on these guys, these goaltenders rather, depending on how the series plays or how they win the series as a whole?
Vasilevsky, I can see it. Vasilevsky, if Vasilevsky wins this series and goes on to win the cup and likely wins the Conn Smythe, because if the Lightning win the cup, he's probably my Conn Smythe. He's my Conn Smythe pick. Who are we kidding? Yeah, 2 Conn Smythes,
2 Conn Smythes, 3 cups,
3 cups,
a bunch of Vezinas.
Yeah, I could see it. Shesterkin, no, because Shesterkin, Shesterkin played his 100th game this year. He's a youngling, man. He's a young guy. He definitely has the potential to do it. Don't get me wrong. He's about to win the Vezina in his 3rd NHL season, 2nd full one. Like, credit to him. But yeah, man, Vasilevsky, it could happen. And I really don't like calling guys the GOAT while they're still playing. When you have legends like Martin Brodeur, Pasaqua, even like long time ago, literally George Vezina himself, Jacques Plante. So it'd be hard to call him the GOAT, but like if Vasilevsky wins the cup, wins the Conn Smythe, and you don't have him in, I'd say your top, we'll go 10 to be generous. I don't know, man. I don't think you can name me 10 better goalies of all time than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I think this is the series. I don't think we've seen a series in quite some time where you got 2 terrific goaltenders.
Might I say polar opposites in these series?
Yes. polar opposites, and we will discuss it in a little bit. But yeah, like this is the big storyline, man. And we didn't see it live up to its expectations last night. I will say when it's a 6-2 finish, I'm going to call that a goal scoring parade for I guess both teams. You don't really see 2 goals going by Shesterkin too often, and 6 going by Vasilevsky. He didn't let 6 go in. He only let 3 go in against Florida in the series prior. So I'm sure these guys are going to tighten the bolts up and get everything strung together. But Jared, I'm going to ask you this one. Tampa, they do not like losing 2 in a row. Andre Vasilevsky does not like losing 2 in a row. What are we expecting to see from the 2-time champs, the defending champs, and not just game 2, but in the series going forward? I know they got sucker punched in game 1, but I can't imagine them getting sucker punched again and again and again. It's going to be really tough to take these guys down because they never go down without a fight. What are you expecting to see from this group?
Well, it's going to be a lot. It's going to give a lot of reminders to what we were saying kind of after the 5-0 win in game 1 against the Leafs, where we're like, okay, Tampa is probably going to get their pound of flesh next game. And I think we are going to see the same thing, but I do think it's actually going to be a closer game than a lot of people think. I do think Tampa will end up tying up the series, but it'll probably be like a 2-1 or a 3-2 kind of game. I think it's actually going to be close. And to be honest, the Rangers really impressed me with the way they've been playing this postseason. I was someone who in the regular season was not very sold on this team, but whereas I'm not changing my mind on my Edmonton criticisms, I actually do like the way that not only the Rangers are getting the wins, but as well, they're playing very well and they're getting production from their bottom 6. They're kind of getting production all throughout their lineup. So I do think they're actually going to give Tampa a hard fight at the end of the day. Similar to what Evan's prediction said after he got rid of his Bolton 4 prediction. He said Tampa in 6. That was my prediction as well, Tampa in 6. But honestly, I think the rest of the way, it'll actually be a fairly close series because the Rangers are kind of getting scoring from everyone, especially their trade deadline acquisitions. Like those guys have really stepped up big time. That's Vetrano and Andrew Kopp. Both of them are playing in the top 6 with the big boys like Panarin and Kreider. So I really like the way the Rangers are playing. I like the way they're getting scoring from everyone. So I think Tampa, yes, they are the better team. They probably will win this series, probably in 6 games. And even I'm saying they're probably going to win the next game, tying up the series. But honestly, if the Rangers keep playing the way they're playing right now, yes, they aren't going to be burying 6 on Vasilevsky on an everyday basis because, again, Tampa is coming off a bit of a rest. They got to get their feet under them. But this team's showing they can get production from everyone. So it's going to be a close battle all the way through. And Tampa will wake up. They're probably going to get the next few wins. But, I mean, it's going to be a closer series than I think a lot of people previously predicted.
I don't know if I'm wrong in my assessment here between the series, but is it almost seem like not only just roster construction, but maybe the direction both the teams want to either aim towards going to or on the road to going to? But are these guys mirror images of each other without the cups? Like, I mean, Tampa, they got the cups. They got the depth pieces that showed up in years prior. They have the offensive production, the defensive production. They got a guy who's won the Vezina or is going to win the Vezina. They've had a guy who's won the Norris. So has the New York Rangers, man. Like, I don't know. You got to think of it, man. They got the star power. They got the death pieces that are both showing up. They got a big guy in goal, and they got a guy who's already won a Norris.
You got to do more than 1 year. You can't just say like after that would be insulting to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have had this production the last 3 years that they've been, you know, with the success in the playoffs. Like the New York Rangers, like I just said, like, come on, round 1, you're playing Louis Domingue, and then round 2, you're expected to play Freddie Anderson, who I thought should have at least been nominated for the Vezina, and instead you're playing Antti Raanta, which offense to him, but obviously he's your backup for a reason. He just got hot at the right time, but they kind of got, I'm saying, like silver plattered, and Tampa has done this. They've dominated before. New York, it's their first time. You know, maybe next year if they get to this position as well, maybe not the Eastern Conference Finals per se, but if we see a level of play that it's like, okay, we're seeing scoring from everywhere. Because the thing with the Lightning is that they could kill you at all 4 lines. New York, this is their first time in the playoffs since they went to the Cup back in 2014, I think. So until we just see more, I think it's kind of insulting to put them on the same pedestal as the back-to-back champs.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Evan. One thing I'll say is there's similarities in the roster, but the Rangers remind me of a lot farther back Tampa Bay.
That's what I was going to say. Thank you. That's why I said direction.
Yeah, I guess, but like, I don't know.
But Tampa doesn't have a kids line. Like the New York is a very young, up and coming team that, to be honest, they are completely overachieving. And yes, like Evan said, it comes with, they've probably been gifted easy goaltending matchups that they've luckily kind of eaten alive on. But credit to them, they're a young team that has made it a lot farther than they were expected to go this year. And I think there are the makings here that this team in the next few years, if they can continue this, they could be a team we remember that, damn, that was a special team. It's not like that yet because, again, I, for one, am not one that really likes to form my whole opinions based on one playoff run because we have to see whether or not they could kind of continue and find sustained success year after year. But based on the way they're playing right now, I mean, it shows you that this team has the makings of becoming a special team in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's one playoff run, but one playoff run can turn to two playoff runs, can turn to three playoff runs. You saw with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not saying that they're the same team because of one team is already there 3 years in advance and one team is way far back. The direction looks quite similar. I think that the New York Rangers slowly following in the footsteps of how Tampa Bay got here and are looking to continue their magnificent run that we have yet to see since the 80s, man, the dynasty of the Islanders. And you can even go further back from there. But I don't know. I see some similarities with these two guys. It's going to be an interesting series. The big storyline there is in goal. And I think we're going to see that one come to fruition in the next couple of days, in the next couple of weeks, no matter how far this series goes. But I mean, I want to talk about, I know we talked the East. I want to talk the West as well. This is the one that's gotten everyone's attention. That opening game got everyone's attention. I mean, much like consecutive losses kind of don't affect the Tampa Bay Lightning and they don't really mix well with that team, the Oilers in game ones, they do not mix together either. I mean, you look at this postseason already. Their first round, they lost, I believe, 4-3 to the LA Kings. Second round, they lost 9-6 to the Calgary Flames. And then just recently on, I believe it was Tuesday night, they lost 8-6 to the Colorado Avalanche. Now, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say game ones mean everything and they're going to dictate where the series goes and how far it goes. But I want to ask you guys this question, and it's a very basic one, man, because this is a more fun one that we've been seeing compared to the other ones that have made their way in the playoffs. We got McKinnon and McDavid, the two superstars going at it. I don't know if we're going to be seeing this again in the future, so hockey fans are sort of keeping it close to them and making sure that they watch every single second of this playoff series. And it was looking to be, and I know we saw it in game one, but all gas, no breaks. Who's going to score the last goal? Whoever scores last wins, man. Like it's looking that way. Adamo, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you see this sticking around? Is it going to be fight to the better end? Whoever scores the last goal is going to be evidently winning the entire series. Like, how do you see this thing playing out? Is there going to be any defense? Is there going to be any goaltending involved? Like, it's polar opposites. I think you said it at the beginning of the show, polar opposites from the Eastern Conference to the West. And you could argue development all you want, but just give me an answer. What are we going to be seeing from these two teams? Because they threw haymakers in game one.
You know, the goaltending may suck, but I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Go look at who's shooting on them. Are you kidding me? Is Nathan McKinnon the third best player in a playoff series? Are we serious? Is fourth? Is Nathan McKinnon the fourth best player in a playoff series? Makar. Or is Cale Makar? Is Mikko Rantanen even top 5 in this series? What are we doing? It's ridiculous. So we saw Francouz is playing tonight. Kemper's out. If I read that correctly, I'm not gonna lie. I was just scrolling through my phone while I was working. And then Mike Smith it's gonna be Mike Smith. I don't care what Woodcroft says. There's no way he starts Koskinen.
No, it's Mike Smith versus
is it?
tonight.
Yeah. Mike Smith, let's ask if anyone has a magic 8 ball, go ask him how Mike Smith is playing tonight. And that's
you'll get a decent answer, and it might be quite close.
It'll be better than mine. So yeah, I'm expecting a ton of fun. I mean, that's literally it. I'm just expecting goals. Plus this tonight be like a 1-0 game.
I really hope it's not.
Man, my prediction was 11-8, so we'll see how that ages.
Let's see how close you get, honestly.
Hammer the over 17 goals. Love it.
Yeah.
Jared, what do you got on this series, man? What are you looking forward to? I mean, beside the superstar talents that Adamo mentioned, where you got so many big names going at it, and I think that's just a result of what we've been seeing in game one. All those goals are going in. Look at the guys who are scoring them, man. Those sticks are red hot, both in this postseason and throughout the regular season. What do you see from this series, and how do you see it playing out? Because, God, two teams, one that we didn't really expect to see there, and the other is just continuing to prove why they're actually a legit hockey team, one of the very few that are remaining in the playoffs right now. But what do you see? What do you see from these guys?
Oh, well, my prediction going into the series was the Avalanche winning in 5. And I mean, it's only been one game, but I think the Avalanche should be able to win this one pretty handedly. Looking at a comparison of the teams, and yes, obviously Edmonton has their superstar power, but overall, there's no question the Colorado Avalanche are a better team than the Edmonton Oilers. And I think they will show it pretty clearly throughout this series. In net, obviously, right now, the Avalanche have Darcy Kemper injured, so that is going to hurt their chances. But I still think the decor of the Avalanche, the depth of the Avalanche, and of course, Nathan McKinnon in that top line, I think they should be able to find a way to shut down the superstars on Edmonton and find a way to win this series in 5. I mean, Edmonton, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They don't have a lot of depth scoring. Their defense is playing well right now, but it's playing well. But it's still not a good decor. I mean, I'm never gonna call a decor with Cody Ceci and Tyson Barrie all that great. And Mike Smith is Mike Smith. I mean, there's no really arguing there. I think the Avalanche are a better team. They are going to show it throughout the series. I'm having them winning it in 5. If Edmonton and the big boys, like if McKinnon and if McDavid and Draisaitl want to combine for like 20 something points this series, then maybe they have a shot. But it's going to take that top 6 absolutely carrying like they've done in the first 2 rounds, and then maybe they have a chance. But otherwise, I'm pretty convinced Colorado is going to shut down this run for the Oilers pretty handedly.
Like you keep pointing out that the Oilers don't have depth. They have 5 guys.
Biggest hater.
They have 5 guys averaging a point per game in the playoffs.
Top 6.
But what does it matter who they get?
Depth is bottom 6. Their bottom 6 is doing nothing.
But when
the
Leafs play their 7 games every year, like when are they ever getting more than 5 points?
Did you say the Leafs?
I said when they play their 7 games a year.
Okay, but we know the Leafs are bad. To be fair,
but
I'm not really.
I'm just saying, even they have 5 guys averaging. Who cares where it's coming from? Like they have 5 guys averaging a point per game in the postseason.
Don't you dare sleep on Cody Ceci.
Playing phenomenal.
I think it's a little disrespectful.
But who cares? But
I'm giving their top guys their credit because they're playing the way they have to play for the Edmonton Oilers to go far. It's awesome to see. But beyond that, they aren't really getting anything, and I'm not sold on their team. And I think the way the Avalanche, the fact that they have so much depth scoring, they have arguably one of the best decors in the league.
Do they though? I don't think they have that
Avalanche
much.
Like I get JT Compher, like whatever, and they when they scored 1,000 goals in game 1, it wasn't just for McKinnon and Ranson. But I just want to say, I'm tired of it being like that you need to have depth in order to win the Stanley Cup, because we've seen Tampa Bay.
You definitely do need some depth.
But here's the thing. But you need some. Obviously you can't have Stephen Hawking out on the ice. But what I'm saying is last year when Tampa won the Cup, Kucherov had 30-something points. Point had 30-something points. And then everyone else kind of just trickled down. As long as you're just scoring goals, no one really cares how you're getting them. As long as they don't fall asleep. I don't understand the notion that you need your bottom 6 to do something. Like I said, when the Blues won the Cup, they had 5 guys averaging over a point per game, and then everyone else was well under a point per game. So I don't understand why that's such an issue. And if they're already scoring so many, they scored 6 goals and lost. That's the issue. The issue is Mike Smith, not the fact that they can't get scoring from Zach Kassian, who was only a scorer in the OHL, and from fucking Josh Archibald, who is just happy he's not in Arizona right now. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I'm just saying there's exceptions to every rule. And yes, St. Louis is an example of a team that very much they're scoring throughout the playoffs that ultimately ended in them lifting the Stanley Cup. They were getting scoring from their top guys and not a lot from the other guys. But overall, at least in my years of watching hockey, the teams that tend to win the Cup and look strong throughout the playoffs are the teams that are getting production from all their guys all throughout their lineup. That's what I say Tampa Bay has done the past 2 years. They've had 4 lines they can consistently roll, and they dominate you. And I think Colorado as well, yes, they haven't had the Cup yet, but I think they do have a lot stronger and a lot more depth scoring than the Edmonton Oilers. And I do think that's going to show throughout this series. I mean, Edmonton, yes, their top guys are scoring, and it's awesome to see. They are a team that is led by McDavid and Draisaitl, looking like men on a mission. They're also getting scoring from Zach Hyman. They're getting scoring from other guys throughout their top 6. Phenomenal. but they don't really have a lot else. And I'm saying that will end up being their downfall throughout this series. It hasn't been their downfall yet. So I could end up continuing to be wrong. And whatever, they're surprising me so far. Maybe they can continue to surprise me. But I'm saying how it's tended to work throughout the NHL playoffs is usually teams are led by 4 consistent lines that can score. Depth, more depth, as well as strong defense and usually a strong goaltender. I don't really see any of that with the Edmonton Oilers.
I'm on Team Evan Davis here.
Like,
really?
Yeah, man. Colorado's 4th line is Andrew Cogliano.
Hey,
Barely knew he was in the league.
Hey, Woodward boy.
Italian boy, I take him.
Yeah.
Darren Helm. Don't tell me you knew he was in the league. I don't care he scored that goal.
Dude,
the only reason you know he's in the league.
in the end. I thought he was in
And Logan
Detroit.
O'Connor, who is an analytical darling, but he's on the 4th line. So I'm not gonna. You can't sit here and say Colorado has this elite depth. They don't.
It's not elite, but I think it's better than the Oilers. I'd have to go.
I don't
think it's so much better than like
Jesse Puljujarvi is on their 3rd line. Warren Fogel's the 3rd liner there. Like
all I'm trying to say is that in order to win a cup, you don't need everyone scoring near a point per game. Like
you need everyone being positive.
Yeah,
that's
like
and that's what the bottom 6 have been.
And honestly, if the Oilers had a goalie in net and not a shooter tutor, they might actually be up 1-0 in this series. Like, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
It was actually like I was gonna say, like, I think they should fucking gas Mike Smith at the end of the season, regardless of what happens, or at least find a different goalie to be the starter, because there were so many times where, like, the Mikko Rantanen goal right before he shot it, I was like, oh, that's going in, or I literally said that's going in, and he shot it right at the top of the slot and it went in. Like, Mike Smith can't save a beach ball right now, and that's the issue with the Oilers, is that they're gonna lose this series solely because of Mike Smith. They could score. They scored. What was it? They beat up on the number 1 defensive team in the NHL, or at least a top 3. And the reason why they didn't sweep them was because Mike Smith gave up 7 goals in game 1. Like, the Oilers could have swept Calgary and everyone would have been like, what the fuck just happened? And instead they had to go a 5th game. But even last night they could have won. Like, if Mike Smith could actually make a save, then no one would be caring about the bottom 6. That's just my thing on it. Is like, you don't need a large bottom 6 in order to win the cup. And if the Oilers do win the cup, then God bless them.
I rarely jump on the Evan Davis train. It is rare. But man, when you I think it's a very good point, where it's not a depth problem with the Oilers. It's a goaltending problem. I think that's the anchor. And I guess I get it last week as well. That's the anchor sort of holding them down. If they can sort that out, if Mike Smith could just flip a switch like so many goalies do, but he's incapable of doing it, or maybe incapable of doing it up to this point. If he flips a switch, like, what are they going to be able to do? And Adamo, I like what you said, where the depth doesn't have to score. They don't have to. They have to be positive. They have to have a positive effect on the game for their team to have a chance to win. And I think the Edmonton Oilers have gotten that and then some to help them win hockey games. Yeah, the goal scorer has been coming from the top 6. Jared, to your point as well, it was supposed to come from the top 6. That was what they needed to win. That was
the top 6.
There we go. It was the bare minimum. That was the bare minimum they needed to at least get passed around. They've gotten that, and they've gotten in bunches, in historic numbers, historic figures of the production from the top 6, including Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But like, there's different makeups for different champions, and the Edmonton Oilers, I don't know how far they go. I don't know if this is just the end of the road here, but it could be a different way of winning. And we talked about this last week. We talked about different ways, different makeups, different roster constructions. Maybe top heavy is the new way to win a championship. Maybe it's just not getting production from the lower guys, but getting good games from the lower guys that don't equivalate to goals. Like, there's so many different ways you could kind of look at this one. And I don't know if we really have the time to go look into different ways of how to sort of scramble upon the Edmonton Oilers and their future. But we did a lot of talking last week. If you want to check out our thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers, their construction, and it was fresh off a win. I believe, no, actually they were heading into game 5 or game 6 against the Calgary Flames. So yeah, we had our Edmonton Oilers thoughts fresh in our minds. So we had them there last week. You can check them out obviously here this week, but it's going to be an interesting series, though. I think we can all agree on that. Regardless of who comes out of it, I think it's going to be a goal-scoring marathon, just because the goaltending is not there. And who everyone loves chaos. Everyone loves chaos in hockey, and it's going to be on full display in the Western Conference Finals. The playoffs are good, man. I usually tune out from the playoffs after round 1, round 2, round 3. Man, it's almost as better. If it's good, if not better than round 1 and 2 combined. So I don't know, man. Hockey's at an all-time high right now. So let's enjoy it. And I can't wait to see how these guys play out, these teams play out, and these series finish out. But we are finished out here on the Leafs Line Podcast. That does it for season 2, episode 30 of the Leafs Line Podcast. Again, your host, Mary Russo, Evan Davis, Don Rimoli, and Jared Rotenberg signing off from this episode of the Leafs Line Podcast. Take care, everyone, and we will see you next week with maybe a somewhat decent result from one of these teams. Maybe we're going to be seeing a Stanley Cup matchup come to fruition. Is it going to be punched already?
Edmonton versus New York.
Oh God,
God,
I'm not
who-
watching that. I'm not watching.
Who had that on their bracket? We'd have to see. But yeah, that does it for this episode, man. Nobody would have that. But I had Rangers. There we go. I'll end it off with my team being pumped. But anyways,
Colorado, are they better than Colorado?
we're ending it there. I'll take care, everyone. Have a good night. See you.